with us. The next session is moderated by Roshni, but let me start with Ambassador Mr. Yuvas Petrisasi, IHRC Ambassador of Republic of Cameroon. The floor is yours, Mr. Ambassador. Ambassador, unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, World Chairman. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm much honored to be able to express myself once again in front of this council on this special day when the world celebrates youth and the various elements and challenges they face: unemployment, immigration, consumption of drug, narcotics. Youth represent more than half of the world's population. I don't need to project myself here into a set of statistics to know that it is the most vulnerable and exposed layers of the population in all areas.
I think the Ambassador Yuvas internet connectivity is not better. African countries and some of the Asian countries and some of the Latin America. Everywhere we are having a problem with the internet. Let me introduce the other speaker while the net connectivity will be allow Ambassador Yuvas to join. She served as a counselor of the Minister of Human Rights and Refugees in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Currently, she is a member board of advisory of the United Nations. Honorable Mrs. Mariana Sovakic, the floor is yours, Ambassador Mariana. Please unmute yourself. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
At first, I want to say hello from Bosnia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. My name is Marina Ševkušić, and I'm member of Youth Body Advisory of United Nations. This topic is very interesting, and it's my honor to be a part of this story. Thank you very much. As a young woman, I can say that education is a vital tool for improvement. We said youth for today, but leader of tomorrow. And this is true because youth people contribute directly to nation building. At first, we need to animate young people. I do it on my social media. I think that I'm sending a good example, especially to young girls. I said to be yourself, to fight for everything what make them happy, to prove that also they can be educated, beautiful, have a great role in a family life, and to put all efforts to not to be marginalized in society and societal values. I want to say that I will allocate that every education man gets his place in the institutional systems. Conferences like this are very important to send a message to the world. Let's talk about the problems. To prove how important is young people, I always repeat that education is most important. I think that how can I explain? Just a second. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you.
I have some problems with my camera. Okay, this is what I want to say and send a message to the whole world. I just want to say thank you very much. It was my pleasure, and I sent greetings from the Bosnia, especially from Sarajevo.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Roshni, now you can take over as a moderator and you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. So moving ahead, I would like to invite President of Youth Council of Pakistan, Honorable Mr. Mohammad Shahjad Khan. So, sir, the floor is yours.
Honorable dignitaries, former head of the states of from different regions, ambassadors, young leaders across the globe, Ambassador very dear Shahid Amin Khan, Madam Roshani Batari, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I really appreciate the IHRC whole management for organizing this third World Youth Summit for Peace. And it's indeed the need of an hour to address the issues that the people are facing in regard of peace, the youth are facing, and all the other things. First, I would like to shed light upon the youth, the emergence of youth, the preparation of youth. The academia, the universities, the schools, the colleges play a very key role in making and building the youth, the students, and those professionals who we are seeing in everyday life, who are performing and serving their nation, their different institution. Specifically, I would talk about the foreign institutions, the embassies, and all the other key role-playing institutions. We are seeing there is an intolerance in the society, among the youth, among the students. So what's the reason behind this? We are just talking about the issues, but we have not talked about the way forward. Academia and industry has a great linkage. And we, the Youth Council, in collaboration with different national and international agencies, are trying for the last 3 to 4 years to bridge that gap which we are seeing and which we are facing between the universities, between the academia and industry. If the industry is not well informed, if the academia is not properly linked to the industry, the nation will suffer, the society will suffer. There will be no timely, time-needed progress in that institutions. You can take the example of the developed countries. You also can have a look on the developing countries, that how the developed countries engaged their youth, their students with their industries, their parliament playing a key role in this. They are even by self, the institution by self, taking students from the educational institutions on internship with a great stipend. The student has no fear of poverty, fear of stipend, fear of living hostel costs, and the student has a full focus on his research. Believe me, I can give you the example of the United States. If they feel any mishap, any lacking in any of the institution regarding the agriculture, regarding the State Department, regarding the Finance Department, so they by self engage the youth from different universities. They are the students of the masters and the PhD and the postdoctorate degrees. And even they offer, you can't believe this, they offer internships in the CIA and the State Department. You can search it out if you have any source there. I'm talking about, the thing is that university and academia must be interlinked with each other. And indeed, industry must be run upon the academic structure, the academic thing. You can simply take the examples of the United States secretaries. Those all are they are the teachers. They are, I would talk about the Sir Kissinger. He is still he was the professor at the Chicago University. There are many other state secretaries, and there are the other department secretaries. They are the professors. But the developing countries are facing issues, and those issues they're the students, the academia, and the industry has a far distance and a gap. That's the thing that differ us from the developed world, and we are not getting that thing. The universities, the educational institutions are responsible to create a national harmony in every country. But you all can experience this thing that they are not performing their duties. They are even not feel this thing that the students of today will be the professionals, will be the leaders, will be the administrators of the tomorrow of the society, of the state. This is a very important thing. The next thing is, if I talk about the political parties, the honorable dignitaries talked about the youth participation in the United Nations. So I would comment on this, that youth participation in the United Nations as ambassador or deputy ambassador is a very far thing in the developing countries. And even this thing is also found in the developed countries too. Here in the developing countries, the youth are not properly trained. Even the political parties have no proper strategy for youth to give them proper training, political training, ethical training, intellectual training, so that they will come across that process and they will be experience that training. They just facilitate them just to fulfill their interest and all these. So the thing is that the state must be responsible to bring the youth to the mainstream, to engage, to know about that how many numbers and how many of the percentage of the population of that state is comprised of youth, and how and what's the strategy that state can make to engage, to facilitate, to resolve the issues of those youth so that they will ultimately focus upon the development of the state. Next, I would very simply would precisely talk about, and I will urge the international key stakeholders who are fortunately here today with us in this summit, and other those who are listening on media, that what about if you people take the initiative to make the youth United Nation? That is, we have already the UN, United Nations. So what if we raise this issue, this case in the United Nations, take some key stakeholders along with us, and the UN itself made this Youth United Nation. This is just a body. The setup is already present, and annually or after 3 months or quarterly, what's the process? They can give time, they can give opportunities to that UN Youth United Nation. And that Youth United Nation will select youth ambassadors, young diplomats during their studies from the different countries, just to practice the diplomacy process, just to practice the international affairs, just to sit and learn the protocols, learn the processes of the United Nations Security Council, the General Assembly, the sideline sessions, and all these. So instead of talking this side and that side, this is the main point I would directly talk about. And I would also specifically talk to Mr. Daniel. Yesterday we were talking, and Dr. Shahid Amin Khan. Daniel is also nowadays in the United Nations as a policy advisor for youth from the Slovakia side. So he can also take out some information about this thing, and he can also put our case in the United Nations in front of the Secretary General. And this is the need of an hour, and this is the key steps that must be taken in order to bring youth into the mainstream as a global citizen, as the citizen, as the member of the international community, and being the international key stakeholder. So this thing was important. I will conclude my speech by just explaining briefly about our mottos. The Youth Council of Pakistan. It has been made in November 2016. Since 16, we have now 5 years, and we all are students. We are working during our studies, serving our youth, our land, and our 3 key areas. We are working on the youth empowerment, the peace, and climate change. And these 3 things are the most emerging issues in today's era. We are connected in our capacity with different educational institutions regarding the career counseling programs and different other sessions for youth to engage the youth with government authorities, to bridge the gap between the government authorities, the parliamentarians, the politicians, the diplomats, the bureaucrats, the military leadership, and the youth, to connect the youth directly with the authorities in order to get them exposure, as I urged you earlier, to advise the making of the Youth United Nations. So I'm contributing my part from Pakistan. And we are also working on peace, conflict resolution. And this is very important. It's not the topic. Should I divert toward the Kashmir conflict? That is so long, but that's not the topic I'm just talking about. And the next is the climate change. Recently, on 22nd April, we have organized an international conference on Earth Day The same day, President Biden has also organized a 3 days international summit, have invited more than 40 head of the states. Ambassador Shahid Amin Khan were the guest speaker there, Mr. Daniel were the guest speaker, other from international community were the guest speakers. So this is a very great initiative of the IHRC and World Youth Summit for Peace. I would like to conclude and thank to the all honorable dignitaries for bearing me for so long, and I will thank Ambassador Dr. Shahid Amin Khan for giving the opportunity. Thank you so much, sir, and best wishes for you always. You are always trying to work on peace and human rights alongside uplifting the youth of the developing countries. This is very great step, and I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Madam Roshani, for waiting so long. I can understand there are a lot of speakers, so thank you so much, and best wishes.
Thank you very much, Shahzad. Thank you for your compliments. I want that I would like to let you know that all leaders are listening to the youth. All leaders are listening to the youth, and this is they are not away. They are just muted, and they are listening to you. Let me say one thing, that in this session even, we just received the video speech of His Excellency President Dr. Emil Constantinescu, Head President of Romania, just for all of you. Because of the internet connectivity, there are a problem, as the ambassador you asked was gone and he just joined again. Let me to put the president first to on this session, so that you should listen. President Emmanuel.
Dear friends from afar, has the pandemic not prevented us from meeting? My interest in the summit, which is such a generous topic, the role of youth in peacemaking, would have been not entirely in being a keynote speaker, but in listening to the opinions of the young participants. That is because the world they will be building will also be the world in which my own children and grandchildren will be living. In over the 4 decades, I spent as a university professor. As I grew older and as times changed, I struggled to understand what my students were thinking, all of them of the same age, 18, 19 years old. I do not know how much today's youth would be interested in experiences such as mine. A man who as a child witnessed the death and mutilation of people during the Second World War, whose youth was spent under a criminal dictatorship that could at any time send you to prison, forced labor camps, or outright deport you for political reasons. And who in maturity took part in a peaceful revolt that was bloodily repressed by the armed forces in Romania in December 1989. And ultimately, one who dedicated his life to promoting peace and understanding worldwide. All these events of contemporary history might seem to today's youngsters a story of long ago, not undistinct for today's world, which is confronted with other challenges. The pandemic affected young and old people alike and brought to the fore 2 fundamental values, life and freedom, which we tend to remember once lost. It is the same with healthcare. I appreciate the programmatic documents promoted by the United Nations organizations such as the Agenda 2030, but I am not sure how convincing they can be for today's youth as they are elaborated by experts who were not faced with the horrors of war, hunger, refuge, or with the inferno of prison and concentration camps. In order to reach a consensus to qualify war as a crime against humanity, which annuls one right to life, one needs a profound change in societal conscience regarding violence in interhuman relations. The dominance of violence is deeply rooted in collective psychology. The history of mankind from the earliest times glorified war heroes instead of peace heroes. In this condition, it is hard to believe that my plea for a culture of peace can be successful. I think that the isolation imposed by the pandemic provided unhoped for occasion to revisit literary masterpieces that address in the manner of the artistic genius mind both sense and reason. And I say this because I am convinced that the power of books is greater than that of political speech. It was during the time that I reread two novels that have influenced my youth, War and Peace and The Magic Mountain. Tolstoy sends the reader to the time of the Napoleonic Wars, which involved the whole of Europe in the beginning of the 19th century, while Thomas Mann focuses on the First World War at the beginning of the 20th. Throughout the history of mankind, the first victim of wars, be they world wars, European wars, regional, interstate, or civil wars, caused by the ruler desire for power, are the young. It is not easy to forget the harrowing scene in War and Peace when Napoleon was inspecting the sinister post-battle landscape of the Pratzen Hills, strewn with the bodies of the dead and wounded, with the young and moribund Prince Bolkonsky, having someone might bring him back to the life, which, having now understood it differently, seemed so wonderful in comparison. Just as harrowing as the final chapters of The Magic Mountain, where a regiment of student volunteers must decide the fate of the attack of the trenches and the burning villages. 3,000 strong, Thomas Mann writers saw that only 2,000, after heavy losses, be left standing to salute victory through a heartfelt hooray, without sparing those who in falling will have been left behind. I believe these scenes should be ingrained into the memory of all those who planned for war, suffering, and bloodshed. In 1943, in the midst of World War II, the most terrible military confrontation in history, the German writer Hermann Hesse published a book that describes a peaceful world in which armed confrontation are mere memory. The Glass Big Bang, for which Hermann Hesse received the Nobel Prize for Literature at the end of the war in 1946, proposed a model of a society founded on culture and not on violence, and glorifies the valencies of cultural dialogue, in which the author argues the differences in culture, education, talent, and individually are not a reason to give up from understanding one another. Unlike the political utopias of Thomas More or Campanella, Hesse's novel does not suggest an isolation from, but on the contrary, rather an involvement in the life of the world, beyond the peaceful borders of imaginary Castalia, with the danger of self-sufficiency lurking from behind. we might ask ourselves, why, after the spectacular development of intercultural dialogue during the last decades, humankind is presently facing so many challenges, facing adversities, and the spiral of violence? In my opinion, the culture of peace is something more than mere intercultural dialogue, and its construction requires more time and more perseverance. It is about a lifelong learning process from early childhood until old age. We cannot neglect the fact that the culture of peace cannot be separate from a new culture of democracy and even from a new culture of the market economy. The culture of peace is also difficult to build because in the late 20th and early 21st century, the need for education was replaced by the need for entertainment, as entertainment brings money, while education does not. Mass killings, genocide, rape, destructions are breaking news, while humanitarian action never are. If this reality will not change, it might be that some of the children now raised and educated in the spirit of violence will migrate, even without any ideological or religious motivation, to those spaces that have become a kind of reservations where manhunts and killing and torturing people are allowed, encouraged, praised, and made popular. The traders in violent images are just as responsible as the weapons traders, because both their motivations are the same: profit and money. I think that when we blame religions for the current open conflict and for all the frozen conflict, we should remember, before condemning them for the evils committed in their name, that they too preach peace and not war. The path they point to is to love your neighbor and not kill or oppress them. Even if in the long history of mankind, one marked by extreme violence, this has remained merely a dream, one must not lose hope. Maybe a new generation will turn it into reality. In order for this to happen, we, the elders, as a representative of the academic milieu or as experienced professionals in any field of activity, must perform an exercise in self-knowledge in order to identify those values that help us in fighting evil and discovering good. We have the duty to help the young discover for themselves the values of humanity and to make them their own in order to build themselves ideals that can converge towards the greater good. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was the Excellency President, and his thoughts are very worth-provoking. In the other hand, there are two speakers who left in the first session because of connectivity. I'm giving the floor to be His Excellency Ambassador IHRC Special Envoy to the United Nations Geneva, Deputy Minister of the International Affairs for the Middle East and Africa from the Lebanon Secretariat. His Excellency Ambassador, the floor is yours. Ambassador, unmute yourself first. Unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman, for giving us the floor. And I'm very sorry for this interruption due to the internet and to the electricity breakdown in Lebanon. As you may know, we are suffering from a lot of aspects, economical aspects, and different also political and social aspects. Let me let me align myself with what our colleague, Her Excellency Ms. Maria Espinosa said about the political parties that are not being approved by the mass populations worldwide. And this is true. And this is what is creating a lot of confusions, and this is creating a lot of misunderstanding and interpretation of the international laws and the international work that is being done by the United Nations and all the international organizations. And from that, we came out on the youth issue after the UN Secretary General in 2018 created or adopted this youth program that is being held by his office in New York, and is giving all the attentions to push this issue to the maximum that it can be done. And we should not forget that the youth issues is a main aspect in most of the United Nations work today. And for so we thought that in order to boost the youth aspect, we should start from education. And education is a very important aspect to understand youth programs. For so doing, we are working on the program that we called KYP IHRC, that was introduced by my office in the Middle East and Africa, which targets the youth in the Middle East, Africa, and worldwide. This is a program that was adopted by the IHRC United Nations ECOSOC status. And this program includes several projects emanating from it with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the provisions of the International Bill of Human Rights, and topics related to the fight against poverty, eradicating hunger, good health and complete well-being, quality education, clean water and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reducing inequalities, sustainable cities and regions, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life underwater, life on land, peace, justice, and institutions and partnerships to achieve these goals. These are the main Sustainable Development Goals, the 17th, that will be adopted by the KYP IHRC on various educational levels and in coordination with our Federal Educational University for Human Rights. We are working also with a team of specialists to discuss ways to develop and adopt it to societies and apply it in schools and universities and in most societies, especially in marginalized areas, to achieve balanced development between regions. We hope that this project will be spread worldwide. And finally, I would like to say that IHRC KYP, with the approval of the IHRC IGO board, is working on this project in collaboration with the UN Youth and the UN ECOSOC Youth. So I believe that this will give a strong boost to the youth work, and starting exactly from the educational point, that we believe that it is a very important issue to start with any other projects at the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Ambassador, for your briefing us on the KIYPA, which is the flagship project of the International Human Rights Commission around the world to empower the youth. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And now the floor is Ambassador Yuwas Petrus Asi. Ambassador Yuwas, the floor is yours. Ambassador Yuwas, I think once again he gone. Ambassador Yuvas.
Yes.
Yes, floor is yours, Ambassador Yuvas.
Okay, thank you very much once again. It is running here too much and network disturbing. I was saying that I'm much honored to be able to express myself once again in front of this rostrum on this special day when world celebrates youth with the various elements and challenges they face. Unemployment, immigration, consumption of drugs, narcotics, so on and so forth. Youth represent more than a half of the world population, and I don't need to project myself here into a set of statistics to know that it's the most vulnerable and exposed layer of the population in areas. Without delay, I would like this summit to have a particularity, that of distinguishing itself from the rhetoric of speeches and moving towards the implementation, monitoring, and implementation of the various recommendations. These require the establishment of a lobbying nearby states. I'm going to focus on empowerment policies because empowerment is a process and development is an achievement. Empowerment is the granting advantages of power to individuals or groups to influence the social, economic, political, or ecological condition they face. The problem of empowerment is that its subjectivity and refer to the idea that the individual gives him his own rules and of which the capacity, that is reason, gave him to be able to live and act by himself. The characteristic of the individual is to be able to decide for himself on the basis of representation and standard emanating from critical reflection, which he is able to translate into strategize and in action, according to the Emile Durkheim. And this is what is interesting in the idea and the spirit of this team. Then we must create real and secure conditions of emancipation in order to allow them to hatch their genius and to achieve this. The states have their own policies adapted to their socio-logical context to make youth autonomous. The various organizations are also actively involved, but the problem remain founding the monitoring and the implementation of these policies. This is why I plead again and again for the establishment of monitoring and for the establishment of a lobbying by the International Human Rights Commission with the states for the implementation of the condition of application of the various resolutions taken. Thank you very much, Mr. President, thank you very much, Mr. President, for attention. God bless you and God bless the youth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I can understand that there is a net connectivity problem as well, and there is a lot of things. But let me move forward to the Honorable Dr. Professor Emiliano Boz. PhD, Associate Professor of Education, Toyo University, Japan, Editor, Truth Lodge Conversation on a Global Citizenship Education, Guest Editor, UNESCO Prospectus, Associate Academic Network on the Global Education and Learning Development Education, Research Center and UCL Institute of Education, United Kingdom. Dr. Bose is an academic, youth promoter, an advocate of education for the young peoples. Dr. Bose, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's a pleasure, and good evening and good afternoon and good morning or even good night, depending on where you're located today. And greetings from Tokyo, the city of the Olympics. And again, let me begin by thanking Ambassador Dr. Mohammed Shahid Amin Khan for inviting me to deliver this keynote speech at the Third World Youth Summit for Peace 2021, Youth of Today and Leaders of Tomorrow. It is a pleasure to be here on such an important day, indeed the International Youth Day. And as the ambassador correctly said, I'm a professor of education based in Japan. I wrote multiple scientific articles, particularly in the field of global citizenship education and humanistic and transformative education, social justice, and social change. And my recent book, Conversations on Global Citizenship Education, is published in Routledge. Currently, I'm also editing a new book on global citizenship in education in the Global South with distinguished Professor Youssef Vagdid, who is based in South Africa. So the book will be published in 2022 in Braille. And I'm also editing a special issue in UNESCO Prospects Comparative Journal of Curriculum, Learning and Assessment, a special issue on curriculum and pedagogy in the Global South. So if you're interested in global citizenship in the Global South, please do get in touch. The title of my keynote address is Fostering Global Citizens of Today as Leaders of Tomorrow through Humanistic Principles. The novel coronavirus, well known as COVID-19, has unsettled all aspects of human life. And unfortunately, this includes the loss of numerous lives around the world. Yet COVID-19 offers us working in education opportunities to re-examine crucial questions in education. Why do we teach? How do we teach? And what do we teach? In other words, the COVID-19 crisis raises questions about the value offered by a university education or a primary education, which includes educational content related to global citizenship education. So in this keynote today, I argue that the type of global citizenship education we need in the future fosters in the global citizen three key humanistic elements. The first one is global moral consciousness. The second one is autonomy and carefulness. And the third one is humanity empowerment. Let me address the first element, global moral consciousness. So the global moral consciousness element of global citizenship education, I suggest in this keynote, encompasses the cultivation of a type of humanistic consciousness that transcends national, ethnic, geographic, and religious boundaries. This approach consists of an awareness of other perspectives, a single humanity as the primary level of community, and the moral consciousness to act for the good of the world. Let me now address the second element, autonomy and carefulness. I propose a vision of humanistic global citizenship education as being modes of thought and action with the basis in the connection of humanity with autonomy and carefulness. Autonomy herewith does not mean that the student is separate from society. Rather, it involves educators cultivating the student's relationship with others. Their support must develop the student's appreciation for the notion of carefulness toward the other. So this refers to the influence of the individual situation. And he proposes that it is possible to be responsible for one's personal life and philosophy. So humanity is a foundation that allows citizens hypothetically to improve their human potential by reflection and dialogue, acquiring at the same time necessary resources for living a valuable life based on the notion of carefulness. And lastly, let me address the third element, empowering humanity, which strongly connects with our theme today. I do believe that empowering humanity requires global citizenship education to open a path, a way forward for the personal improvement of every student. The term is often used interchangeably with collective emancipation because both entail waging a struggle against inequality. So there is a subtle difference, however. Collective emancipation stresses flattening the power relations that exist between groups. On the other hand, empowering humanity, as I'm discussing here today with you, extends beyond the political level by embracing all aspects of human behavior. So a global citizenship education, as the one I propose in this keynote today, must emphasize an interpersonal dimension which recognizes the human drive to live harmoniously and responsibly with others. This, of course, extends in two directions, as our students desire to contribute to and by others while simultaneously receiving support from their immediate environment. I therefore believe that the type of global citizenship education we need fosters youth of today, leaders of tomorrow, based on three key humanistic elements: global moral consciousness, autonomy and carefulness, and humanity empowerment. And let me conclude with a quote by Nelson Mandela, which inspires my work in and for education. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So in every conference, we try to include most countries as possible, to include all the youth around the world. So from Nepal, I'm from Nepal. So now I'm moving toward our neighboring country, India. So from India, we have winner of Miss Universal Peace and Humanity 2020 winner, model, and inspirational speaker, Dr. Sufi Sayed. Dr. Sufi, the stage is yours. Dr. Sufi? I think Dr. Sufi is not there.
She's not there. She's not there, I think.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next list. And from India, I would like to move on to Australia. So from Australia, we have a community leader, and she is a youth consultant. She is a trainer and author. Please give floor to Honorable Miss Amran Abdi. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Miss Imran Abdi.
Yes, sorry, my apologies. Let me just.
Miss Imran Abdi.
Ma'am, can you unmute yourself? Yes.
Yeah, can you guys see me and hear me?
Yes, we can see you and hear you, but go ahead.
Fantastic. Okay. So I'd like to firstly begin off by acknowledging the traditional owners on whose land which we meet on today. I am from the Kulin Nation, and we currently are living on the Naam, and I'd like to pay my respects to those elders, both past, present, and emerging. My name is Amran Abdi. I'm a 25-year-old currently living in Australia, Melbourne, Victoria. I've been in Australia for 18 years and migrated to Australia from New Zealand with my family that consists of my 8 siblings.
Can you open your camera?
Yes, sure. Is that better?
Yes, it's okay.
Fantastic. So I moved from New Zealand to Australia with my family that consists of my 8 siblings, my mother and my father when I was just 6 years old. We first moved to Perth and I've been living in Melbourne for the past 3 years. I currently work as the programs coordinator at the Islamic Museum while currently completing my Masters in Arts. I'm also extremely passionate about representation in children's literature and have successfully self-published 8 children's books. See, growing up in Australia has been bittersweet to say the least. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities that have been presented to me by this great land. However, growing up early on, I realized the playing level field isn't always level for a Kenyan-born Somali young Muslim woman such as myself. Like many migrant and refugee youth, I've learned early on that some employers lack cultural awareness and competency skills. Some employers don't understand specific cultural and religious customs, ethics, and practices. At my previous workplace, I was unable to exercise my personal religious freedom. I was told I couldn't do my prayers and was made to feel uncomfortable by my regional manager. Having migrated to a Western English-speaking country at the tender age of 6 years old, I was fortunate enough to be immersed in the English language. However, for most of my migrant and refugee friends, this isn't the case. We can all agree that English is a difficult language. Unfortunately, the Adult Migrant English program offers 510 of free English hours. Can you imagine learning a whole new language in 510 hours? For young migrants and refugees attending schools, English second language classes are offered in primary schools and are often segregated classes. Your classmates are often your brother or your sister. Some offered classes separated and some don't offer classes at all. Some schools in Victoria do not offer ESL classes in high school. Back in Western Australia, there are high school schools specially designed for migrant students. It's often a place of belonging for early migrants who share the same struggles, such as past trauma from back home, difficulties integrating and navigating the Australian way of life. I'd personally love to see these fantastic schools given more funding and support to further develop. The English language is used to communicate, further advance studies, and open a plethora of opportunities, including employment. It is an integral part of living in Australia. When young migrants don't understand the English language, it makes it extremely difficult for them to integrate in society and be a positive citizen in Australia. Language barriers might make it easier for some to unknowingly break laws. Everyone has the right to have basic understanding of laws, and unfortunately, this isn't the case for some migrant and refugees. At times, the lack of understanding of the English language leads to a disconnected youth that often find themselves in and out of the justice system. The negative stereotyping of migrant and refugee youth on mainstream media and television drives a number of youth further away from being positive and active citizens. For example, the young South Sudanese community in Victoria are often associated with the Apex gang or other African gangs. This negative terminology, often heard on television along with the negative rhetoric such as migrants and refugees are here to take your jobs, Muslims are terrorists, Muslim women are oppressed, and all migrant and refugees move to Australia only to be on Centrelink, which is Australian welfare, make it harder for migrants and refugees to integrate in society. It makes it difficult to secure employment and integrate in general society. Migrants and refugees have major potential to contribute to Australian society. We're multilingual, multifaceted, and multi-talented. We have resilience and strong adaptive skills gained from moving to a completely different country, learning the system of that country, language, and the culture, whether we move by choice or due to unbearable circumstances. We have strong interpersonal skills and are able to successfully negotiate cross-cultural interactions. With the right support and removal of barriers such as lack of access to learning opportunities, jobs, health services, and mental health programs. In addition to misunderstanding the justice system and highlighting positive migrant and refugee stories, will all assist migrants in being positive, thriving members of the greater Australian community. For example, teachers didn't know how much you knew, so that they'll be listening to you rather than interacting. And some classes offer English help, and they pull some students out of mainstream classes. This adds to lack of sense of belonging and further isolates younger migrant children who yearn to be a normal young person. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now moving ahead, I would like to give floor to Honorable Mr. Vijay Mehta, sir. He is author and chair Uniting for Peace. And then he is founding trustee for Fortune Forum Charity. So sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roshani, and Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished gathering. I'm delighted to be invited at the World Youth Summit for Peace. Special thanks to ROCKS and Educating Beyond Borders, who are doing excellent work furthering the cause of education for peace. As we celebrate International Youth Day today, we should make a commitment to strengthen the power of young people, ensuring they become capable future leaders to run the world in a more harmonious and peaceful way. In my book, the latest book, How Not to Go to War, I have advocated a campaign for Department for Peace to be at the governmental level, to be established at the governmental level in each and every country of the world, which will work for building peace, education, capacity building to solve aggression and wars between countries. Dear friends, the world faces a multi-dimensional global crisis without precedent since 1945. US, West, China, Russia, new Cold War, out of control arms race, conflicts around the world, including Middle East and North Africa, global COVID-19 pandemic, climate change crisis, poverty and inequality, rise of nationalistic sentiment and populism has resulted in paralysis of international institutions, rule of law, and global governance. Including what is so important is poverty, experiences of discrimination and social segregation, struggle for social justice, for more equitable and sustainable world is prevalent around the world. Why is it? Because owing to lack of peace education about world politics, international relations, human rights, and conflicts. As a result, there is mass marginalization of the youth, which is happening as we see, and they are disengaged from the mainstream society. Dear friends, World Youth Summit for Peace, to overcome all these problems and obstacles and to realize the dividend, countries must invest in the empowerment, education, and employment of their young people. There are 1.8 billion young people in the world today, representing a staggering amount of human potential. Yet too many of them are trapped in poverty with few opportunities to learn how to earn a decent living. So we all appreciate the massive waste of human potential in our world when 74 million young people cannot find work. The more young people grow into well-educated adults with fewer dependence on new opportunities to acquire wealth, savings, and purchasing power, the more they will be able to accelerate economic growth and development around the world. So, as some speakers have alluded as well, and I'm going to also speak about who is a global citizen. Dear friends, a global citizen is someone who is aware of the wider world and has a sense of their own role as a world citizen, respects and value diversity, and has an ethic of care for the world, has an understanding how the world works, is outraged by the social injustice, is willing to act to make the world a more equitable and sustainable place, takes responsibility for his or her actions. So to be effective global citizens, my friends, young people need to be flexible, creative, and proactive. They need to be able to solve problems, make decisions, think critically, communicate ideas effectively, and work well within teams and groups. These skills and attributes are increasingly recognized as being essential to succeed in other areas of 21st century life, including many workshops. Education is a must, as if other speakers have alluded as well. It not only it provides transmission of culture, but also a provider of alternative views of the world, and it strengthens your skills to explore them. There is also a critical need to involve young people in decision making that will affect them. We cannot talk about peace and sustainable development without the active involvement of the youth. When we give young people decent jobs, political weight, negotiating muscle, and real influence in our world, they will create a better future. So I'm just going to leave the audience with some key ideas. One of them is, which I have written in my book, How Not to Go to War, is campaigning for opening and establishing departments for peace, which can work for building peace, education, capacity building to solve aggression of wars between countries. The Department for Peace will work for building culture of peace by replacing systems of violence with practices rooted in non-violence, social justice, for creating blueprints for non-violent countries and cities. Let me also say that it's very important, which other speakers have said, that peace education in our schools, universities, and societies is so important, so that our youth can really realize how important it is for them to work in the peace education. Dear friends, one of the most important developments in the last decade is how your organization or community or city can raise the profile of your campaign and activism by mobilizing social media, especially Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. One of the most important things I like to emphasize is the importance of hashtags in order to assure your post go viral. One of the examples is Sea Legacy, who are doing admirable work by cleaning the oceans, and their hashtag is Turning the Tide. Another one is Extinction Rebellion, which has a hashtag, where is your plan, which has attracted millions of people, and they are doing wonderful job in climate change mitigation and environmental protection. But the most popular is the hashtag Black Lives Matter, which is depicted in films, songs, TV, literature, and visual arts, highlighting materials related to racial injustice to reach across UK and USA, and they have an amazing reach. Dear friends, in conclusion, there are 1.8 million youth in the world who need empowerment to actively involve in organizations, civic initiatives, and activities in peace building, social justice, addressing and overcoming violent extremism and hate in our communities. And best way to organize that is to campaign, as I said before, for a department for peace, which will have the resources and capacity to overcome conflicts and tensions in society. In conclusion, let me say, what we need is an outline of practical steps to understand that all human and planetary life is sacred. We need the historic transition from the reason of force to the force of reason to trigger the changes urgently needed. Let us invent the future where every human being has the courage and dedication to build global peace and commit ourselves to make our world a better place. We must visualize every day in our minds that there is no challenge which is beyond our unique capacity as human beings. The future belongs to optimists who can grab the opportunities that exist and help to build a world of hope, joy, tolerance, and solidarity. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your encouragement for the youth. So moving on, we are moving toward Morocco. We have a law student and model of Morocco. Please welcome Honorable Miss Sokina Rosdi. Sokina Rosdi, the floor is yours.
She's having a connectivity problem.
Oh, So we'll move to the next list. So we are moving toward Bangladesh. We have President of Youth Parliament of Bangladesh, and for your information, Youth Parliament of Bangladesh is partner for World Youth Summit for Peace 2021, and they are recipient of Princess Diana Award 2021. Let's welcome Honorable Mr. Sarkar Tanveer Ahmed. The floor is yours.
Very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Yusuf Raza Gilani, former President of Romania, Dr. Emil Constantinescas, former President of Ecuador, Dr. Rosalia Arteaga, and the President of the 73rd session of the United Nations, Ms. Maria Fernanda, former Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau, Mr. Rui Durate de Barros, and our honorable guests and the youth. Assalamu alaikum. And many thanks to our guardian, His Excellency Shahid Amin Khan, for organizing this great event today to give the chance of Youth Parliament to be an event partner of this great event. And you will be happy to know that our 14 youth parliamentarians from Bangladesh took a part in today's event. And today is International Youth Day, and with the theme Transforming the Food System, Youth Innovation and Human and Planetary Health. So by 2050, 2 billion new people will live in the world. So whilst 1 billion people are hungry and 2 billion eat too much wrong food, and about 1/3 of food is wasted. And a calculation said that the per day, the total wasted food is equal enough to the total GDP of Sweden. And 75% of the world's food is served from only 12 products, and the remaining 25 from the meat. So one of the IPU members at the Dhaka conference said that I want to feed all the children around the world at once. So give me money, but he got no response from the others. So an important part of the global development is the young generation who can lead the future, because every country is giving importance to the active contribution of the youth in the current demographic dividend. And you know, the Bangladesh is a very populous country, but the possibility is that our only primary and high school going children and our generation of both alone equal the total population of 38 small countries around the world. The late President of India, APJ Abdul Kalam, said, if you want to be like the rays of the sun, burn like the sun first. So we know that the control energy is much more valuable, but uncontrolled energy is not helpful for us, and it is harmful. Example in our hand, that's like that Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, like that. So if it is like the sun, and it is the responsibility of our youth and the government also to prevent these kinds of uncontrolled forces and establish the peace among the society engaging with the youths. But at present, the young people are getting involved in sensitive issues like religious militancy, extremism, drugs, social media addiction, also rumors. So in a sustainable political environment and the society, the young people are being influenced by others and engage in destructive activities. So even those who are interested in constitution, parliamentary rules and practice of laws, and we do not know the law, are easily involved in destructive activities. So institutional education is limited in the textbooks, results, and syllabus also. But there is a lack of civic education system and need to lead the country in the future. So as a youth leader, through the parliamentary practice, he or she will be able to learn about the legal system of their own country and about the parliamentary rules of procedure. So I believe that by developing the youth as a democratic and the civic conscious from the present, a generation of future parliament will be ready. Lastly, I have some recommendations that although the youth parliaments are practicing in the many parts of the world, and many countries still do not have the opportunity to practice inside their own parliament, original parliament. So my request is to Inter-Parliamentary Union would encourage governments to convene a session of the original parliament house in the room to develop the free democratic practice for the youth, and will prepare a central forum with all the youth parliamentarians across the world. So as far as I know that the youth delegation can participate in the United Nations Assembly also. So if Inter-Parliamentary Union organize such programs, it will be helpful for the youth. So lastly, history is the conversation of the past with the present. Evaluating the youths can be a history for the future. Thank you very much for giving me the chance, and also the organizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President. Now I'd like to move on with the list. We are moving toward Pakistan. We have youth and women rights advocate from Pakistan, Honorable Sayyida Haya Botol Bukhari.
Move on. Move on.
Okay. Then we are moving towards Somalia now. Founder of Diplomacy Talk series, TDX speaker, youth activist and ambassador, Honorable Mr. Hamza Muhammad Abdi Wahab. Sir Hamza, the floor is yours.
Just give me a minute.
Okay.
I will connect my earbuds.
Sir, unmute yourself.
Mr. Hamza Abdul Wahab, please unmute yourself. Move on.
Okay, Sir Hamza, we can't hear you. So we are moving on, and now we are moving toward the Europe.
Yes.
Sir Hamza.
Hello?
Okay. Okay, the floor
Yeah,
is yours.
just one more minute.
One more. Sir, you get ready. I'll move on with the list because it's getting late. Hello, sir. Okay, I can't still hear him. So we'll take him after another speaker. So I'm moving toward Europe, and we have educationalist, advocate of youth leadership from Spain, Honorable Miss Lucia Perez.
And she is not available. She's not available.
Okay, so then we'll move on back to Pakistan. President of Youth Diplomacy Forum, Honorable Mr. Musawir Ahmed Tanoli.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Roshani. Am I
Welcome,
audible?
sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So first of all, happy International Youth Day to everyone across the world. And I would like to congratulate World Youth Summit for Peace, and especially to Ambassador Dr. Shahid Amin Khan for organizing such a wonderful conference for youth. Although youth is having a very special importance and it plays a very vital role in the development of country, but unfortunately, developing countries like Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, youth is not having, is not getting such, you can say, privileges that the European youth or other countries they are receiving. So today I would like to talk about the youth in the parliament or in the political system. So all parts of society must be included, but when young people are disengaged from the political processes, a significant portion of the population has no voice or influence in a society. To make a difference in the longer term, it is essential that young people are engaged in formal political processes and formulating today's and tomorrow's politics. When there are, the hurdles to participate in the political process, the young people can rapidly feel disempowered and their voices are not going to be heard. but it is crucial to build a stable and peaceful society. In a new and emerging democracies, the inclusion, the induction of young people is important, and it can bring democracy's value to life. Problems faced by young people, I would like to highlight a few of the problems which are faced by young people across the world, but again, I would say that especially in the developing countries. Age restriction to vote or run for the office, as all our dignitaries, ambassadors, and the former presidents and prime ministers discussed, that they under the age of 40. So this is same as the problem, that age requirement to vote or run for the office. Then we have age restriction in campaigning in some of the countries. Then social and cultural traditions are also one of the hurdles. Then increased, cost for the candidate nomination, and definitely, especially in Pakistan, in India, we have this issue that it is difficult to nominate a person who is from, you can say, a poor person or who is from a middle class. Then young women are in many countries, are subjected to a double discrimination. So distrust on the political system, political institutions, and especially on the political leaders. So these are the things which are the hurdles in, and also lack of confidence, lack of knowledge about the political processes, because most of our youth doesn't know about the political processes of their own countries. Then young people are, grappling with, you can say, complexities of democratic societies and formal political processes. So I would like to share the UN 2016 report regarding youth. It shows that nearly 53% of the young graduates says that they always vote in national elections, in comparison with about 44% of all 18 to 29 years old. Social and economic marginalization is also an issue. Now, I would like to show some reforms, because we need some political reforms in our countries. Number one, the involvement of youth in a political process. And as there is need to understand that people are not a homogeneous block. Young people are not a homogeneous block, as our former, Prime Minister of Pakistan, His Excellency, said in his speech also, that the young people are not a homogeneous block. So this needs to be understood. Then other social aspects like gender, language, culture need to be taken into consideration. The involvement of youth in political process is although a multidimensional and complex, and this is also a challenge that need to be addressed. Then we need to encourage the political parties to embed, quotas in electoral laws, as Excellency Ambassador Shahid Amin Khan and other ambassadors and diplomats also discussed the same thing. Then the last one is stipulate, or we can say catalyze the conditions surrounding the placement of youth candidate and nomination for the electable position. At the end, I would say, I would like to thank World Youth Summit for Peace for giving the youth an opportunity to interact with, with youth around the world, with diplomats, with ambassadors, and with the heads of the state. So it's an honor to participate in such a wonderful conference. Thank you very much, and special thanks to Ambassador Dr. Shahid Amin Khan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Everyone.
So now I see Mr. Hamza, sir. Are you ready? Okay, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you so much, Roshani, for being patient. I know you're running out of patience, but nevertheless, I would like to thank you on that. First of all, let me firstly thank Ambassador Dr. Mohammed Shahid Amin Khan for inviting me to the Third World Youth Summit in commemorating the International Youth Day. So for further youths who are here today, I would like to congratulate all of us for the International Youth Day. And we had a lot of former prime ministers, former presidents, and high commissioners, ambassadors. So I will just try to conclude saying that.
Hamza, please, can you turn your video on?
It is on. Hello?
Thank you very much. Carry on now.
Okay. So secondly, I would like to, because there's a lot of deputy prime ministers and former prime ministers in this room, and I would just like to say all protocol observed for our highly delegates who have been here today. And it's truly honoring that we are seeing that they're supporting youth to be future leaders of these sessions. So let me also thank the International Human Rights Commission for bringing together world-renowned government leaders and talented youth from across the globe to engage and share ideas on how we as youth can emerge in this globalized world. As the founder of Diplomacy Talk Series, an initiative that raises awareness on sustainable development goals in schools, in universities, and in general public, we are doing this awareness of sustainable development goals in Malaysia and in the Maldives, and currently we are shifting to Somalia and Kenya. So I will be humble to speak on the role of youth in the sustainable development goals. Far from being mere beneficiaries of the 2030 agenda, young people have been active architects in its development, continues to be engaged in the framework and the process of supporting and implementation. Today, there are 1.2 billion young people aged 15 to 24 years, accounting for 16% of the global population. The active engagement of these youth in sustainable development goals efforts is central in achieving sustainable, inclusive, stable societies by the target date, which is 2030, and to averting the worst threats and challenges to sustainable development goals, including the impact of climate change, unemployment, poverty, gender equality, conflict, and migration. While all the sustainable development goals are critical to youth development, this focuses on the areas of education, employment, underlining the realization of youth employment, issues related to other goals, including gender equality, good health, reducing inequality, combating poverty and hunger. And actions on environmental issues and climate change are very, very, very important. Speaking this week, we have seen a lot of climate change issues in Turkey and Greece, and now currently as I speak in Algeria. So there's 2 points, and I would like to emphasize on fellow youths on to join, on partaking and be part of their communities. Point number 1 is to get involved in initiatives, in non-government organizations, or in school or university programs. Participating in a local initiative is a worthwhile way of supporting sustainable development goals efforts for inspiring, which helps youth participate in national decision-making process related to sustainable development goals, to the battery project, which is to give young women in the world to have gender equality. And the second point that I would like to emphasize, which is important to me as Hamza Mohammed Abduhab, is getting youth to be involved in politics. To make a difference in the longer term, it is essential that young people are engaged in formal political process and have a say in formulation today and tomorrow's politics. Inclusive politics participation is an only fundamental political and democratic right, but also is crucial to building stable and peaceful societies and developing policies that respond in the specific needs of our younger generation. For young people to be adequately represented in political institutions, process and decision making, and in particular in elections, they must know their rights and must be given the necessary knowledge and capacity to participate in meaningful ways in all levels. When there are obstacles in participating in formal, in an institutional political process, young people can be rapidly feel disempowered. Many tend to believe their voices are not going to be heard, or they will not be taken seriously, even if they are heard. The problem becomes circular as politicians may lose interest in responding to the aspiration of young people if they cannot win their votes. This is in turn leads to young people being increasingly exhausted, excluded from taking part in decision making or in debates about social, economics, and political issues, despite their sensitivity to the demands for social equity and justice, environmental protection, and cultural diversity. Without further ado, and I would like to conclude in saying, let me not forget. I would like to repeat this again. let me not forget the youth who are facing hardships in Somalia, in Yemen, in Palestine, in Algeria, in Tunisia, in Venezuela, and in Myanmar. Let's be the voices of the voiceless youth who need our motivation and aspiration. Asante sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Hamza, for your inspirational speech. So now we are moving toward Brazil. From Brazil, we have educationist. We have educationist, youth motivated teacher, and she is Honorable Miss Gabriele Selma Perez Gonçalves. Welcome, ma'am. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon from Brazil. It's afternoon here. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy for the invitation and this amazing opportunity. And happy International Youth Day, right? What a great chance to be sharing so many things with you. And it's been said so much already, and listening to all that has been said, it makes me believe that we are really in the right path, that we are not alone, and that together we can achieve for the changes we need for peace, right? One of our students, she is 16, and she was one of the ones that could speak here. And I've been with them every day. I work with young students in a school with high school students. So I've been with them every day and being the leader of social and international programs. And they've been taking part in a lot of actions. So I believe that they are essential leaders now. They are partners, and it's amazing everything we've been learning with them every day. They also bring so many new visions for us, right? And they've been fully engaged in social development themselves and very supportive, surprising us every day. And I believe that bringing youth voices and encourage them to take action has been great. And I believe we need to do so much more. And starting with these opportunities, like she was very happy, and she's been telling everyone the school was invited. Everyone is watching. It's gonna be a huge thing for us to be part. And I'm sure that each year we can get more students and youth engaged to this chance. And so listening to what they have to tell us and their point of view make us feel that it's urgent to allow them to be part of the solutions. They're willing to make the changes and discuss the problems with us, right? What I've been listening to them is that how much they feel frustrated for not having the chance to do anything, and they're being asking, what can we do? How can we help? We have so much energy and we have so many ideas, and they know already about all this, so many bad news and problems every day. And they know about the reality we are facing, and they understand a lot about climate changes, and they've been following every impact of our actions, the intolerance, the prejudice, and all this, so many bad things we've been facing every day, right? And they don't want to be part of that. They really want this change. So I believe the empowering and giving them this opportunity to learn more and allow them to bring their ideas and help them act together as we are here right now. Everyone here willing for that. So this will be the best path, and I'm very thankful for listening to all of you. I've learned so much today, and I'm sure that as being together with this youth, we can do a lot together. Thanks again for this opportunity.
Obrigada. So much. Thank you so much. So from Brazil, we are flying straight to Azerbaijan. We have Chairman of Baku Student Union. Let's welcome Honorable Mr. Haji Baba Mustafayev. Sir Haji Baba, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I want to thank the organizers of this summit and for their invitation and organizing this summit. It's a great pleasure for me to participate with you in the summit where such important topics are discussed. In my speech, I want to talk about education and youth. I strongly affirm that educated youth with common sense is the guarantee of safe development of the world. Today, we notice many problems in our world, but do not worry about the future of millions of young people who suffer from many cases in the poorest countries of the world. As a positive example, I want to say that in my country, in Azerbaijan, with the using of modern technologies in the field of education and development in the sports field for young people. Also in our student union, all kinds of measures are taken to train young people in the scientific field and their development. I think that in the current situation, we must take every effort to maintain the interest of young people in education and development during the pandemic. It's necessary to make great efforts on the part of international organizations, also for the development of youth in the backward regions of the world. Many experts say that youth is the future of the world. I would like to correct it and say that for me, educated youth is the future of the world. Thank you for attention. Thanks to my brothers in Pakistan.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So I would like to move fast because we have very limited time. So from Azerbaijan, I'd like to move on to Morocco. We have student and feminist advocate, Honorable Miss Sarah Bosra. Ma'am, Sarah Bosra, are you there? I think ma'am is not there. So I'll move to Cameroon. From Cameroon, we have President of Christian Movement for Development of Noun Division, Honorable Dr. It's very difficult for me to pronounce this name, Jimongna Lukuman Akim. Do we have, sir, are you there? Dr. Jimongna Lukuman Akim, sir, are you there? Sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong. So let's move on. I think sir is not there. If he will come back, then we can add him. From Cameroon, I would like to now in the list, next we have EBB's education advocate, Honorable Miss Luna Wong. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luna, and I am the education advocate from Educating Beyond Borders, or EB. As our name says, we work to help gain more exposure to important education issues. At this very moment, I would like to share with all of you the essence of the 13 years of work done at EB. But first of all, representing EB, we would like to say that we are grateful to have the opportunity to have contributed our effort and resources to help this World Youth Summit for Peace and Youth. To start off, have you ever questioned why we have compulsory education? It is an image of books and schools that people think of when they talk of education, but it is much more than that. Education is defined as being the acquisition of knowledge through training and learning well. This is achieved through attending school, indeed, but the value of it lies far beyond the interest of others. Perhaps the formal years of education seem much like a routine that everyone goes through. However, it is nothing more than up to each person to take full benefit of. Education is the basis to understanding the events that happen around you, equipping you for what you will encounter and helping you to skillfully navigate the world. For example, we need to be educated in maths to do all the calculations when we walk into a grocery store. What about a subject like biology then? Surely we don't need to think about how our cells respire to live a better life. But in the process of learning, we develop the skill to explore the links between parts of the biological world, or sometimes the patience and concentration in using precise instruments in experiments, etc., and etc. These are transferable skills for you to use in the coming decades in your life. And school subjects are the obstacle that you practice leaping over and over again. So when you come out of school, your skills most definitely have improved. It brings about an improvement for life. When we bring learning out of school, we can also see that it can be working in an office. With learning how to cooperate better with your colleagues, it can be venturing into a foreign country and embracing people from different cultural backgrounds. It can be listening to the most recent TED Talk and being told the principles to the success of great people. Regarding working experience, for all the places that I have visited, I never regretted making the decision to wake up at 7 to go there. At the law firm I went to, I found office work tedious, but with not much relevance to the profession. More importantly, I figured out how the relationship between the boss and the employee affected the productivity of the company. Funny. So there are always infinite ways to know more about the world, which is unrestricted to sole letters on paper. And mostly that will get you in a better position in all scenarios. Now, allow me to prompt you with a small question. Have you ever considered getting into university? Well, it has become a prominent institution, alluding to an easier career path. The rising importance of education had global youth getting into a lot of debt to study at university. But graduates with degrees are not valued enough by employers and have little life chances. People have been deported through no fault of their own. Very few people understand, especially key decision makers, what the issues are. This is simply because it will take too much valuable time to research this issue. These issues are underreported. The causes can be difficult to spot without direct lived experience. As a result, students and young people are growing increasingly delusioned. This issue highlights the need to involve youth in more global decisions, to get more accessible firsthand information. We all have the right to speak for ourselves. The youth is the population that is most affected by the existing education system, though some may argue that it does not make a valid argument that non-adults are prepared to make social contributions. Many, like our organization, can only disagree with this statement. Why? Because the soaring influence of the internet has speeded up our progress in the development of social and political understanding. We have more information to form better decisions and opinions. We have young climate change activist Greta Thunberg and water access advocate Mary Copeny. These representatives are making changes as young as 11 years old. The concern of immaturity should be fading in this new century. To allow students to voice concerns, be listened to, and involved. We have reached a time where literacy has surged, and so young people are now more capable of articulating themselves on the basis of quality education, of course. I recall my friends at school making spectacular arguments and debates in my history class on the policies and decisions of great figures in the medieval ages of the Crusades. Not always did they result with a conclusion, but what was important were the occasionally surprising views that always impressed me. Now, what can you recall from what I have said today? Let me bring that to the surface again. Firstly, the importance of education is the development of skill and acknowledgement of your environment. It can be in forms other than academic schooling, such as work experience. Secondly, there are now cases of graduate students in debt because of studying at university that, despite a degree, cannot easily enter the competitive market. Lastly, we believe that youth should and can be a part of more global decisions. I hope you learned something from what I have said today, and I am delighted to represent Educating Beyond Borders and to have spoken to you. I wish you a wonderful day and thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Luna. Now, next, I would like to invite our Honorable His Excellency Ambassador Malik Nassim Ahmed Khan, sir. He is from Sweden. He is the former elected reserve member of Swedish Parliament, Ambassador at Large of IHRC for European Union region. Sir Nassim Malik, please, the floor is yours. Sir, please unmute your mic and sir, can you hear me? Nassim, sir, I can see you here. Okay, I think sir is not here, so let's now let's move on back to our from here. I would like to move on to Brazil again. We have Youth Leader for Change, Honorable Miss Maria Equadra Barros. Ma'am Maria, are you there? I think Ma'am Maria is also not there. So I would like to move on with our another participant, and he is entrepreneur and youth leader from Republic of Congo, Honorable Miss Redo Jethro Mawako. Sir Ready Jethro Mawako, are you there? I think we have to move on to the other session. It's a question and answer session. So I would like to invite our honorable and the main lead for this whole summit, our respected Ambassador Dr. Mohammed Sahid Amin Khan, who is the chairperson of International Human Rights Commission, and he is the chairman for World Youth Summit for Peace Organization. He has been giving opportunity to the youth like us since last few decades. So sir, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Roshni. Thank you very much. Although I think it is a very late, we put the both sessions together. Hopefully, we will ask the youth to be in the next phase as well, sometime after some days. As you all know that International Human Rights Commission and the World Youth Summit for Peace is working to empower the youth and women together. Women are subject to violence, subject to harassment, subject to deprivation, discrimination, and we need a prosperous world for them as well. Equality, gender parity, and discrimination on every forum, at all levels and everywhere. Youth. Youth are, I just described in my own words, youth are the future. They are future, but which future? If we empower the youth today, if we will make them to sit on the seats and at tables which they deserve, then they are the future of tomorrow. Because if the today is not bright, we cannot hope that the future will bring the same prosperity for us and a coming generation together. Youth are moving on the roads and the streets, coming out from the schools, colleges, universities for the climate strikes. They are vulnerable as much as vulnerable is our earth today. It is a disaster which has been created by all of us older for the earth, for the planet, and for the future. We have to hear their voices. We have to make the commitment towards to repair and recover our future. Let the youth should be empowered today for a better future tomorrow. COVID-19 has made us apart from each other. This is a lesson for the whole mankind. This is a lesson for the whole humankind. We should realize that where we are standing, it is the right now. We have to repair our earth and we have to repair our systems which can guarantee the prosperity, better jobs, free education, health, and to sit the youth into the parliaments in the majority so that they can repair this world and bring back better. This is what is my take on the International Youth Day 2021. If we are not getting in the youth into the policy making and decision making, we cannot make this world a better place for all of us. None, the older can survive or nor the younger can survive. So if we want to survive, we have to join hands for repairing this world and this system, which is making apart youth and older apart from each other. It is not a time for making a differences. It's not a time to making an arguments. It's not a time to making a talks. It's a time of an action. If we are not going to do any action, then we should understand the future is not ours, and future is lying in the hands of a youth and the young generation. May God will help us, guide us, give us a wisdom to take our youth along with us as a powerful tool of change, as a powerful tool of a prosperity, as a powerful tools for the world at large. This is what is my message, and I would like to thank you, all of you, on behalf of the International Human Rights Commission, on behalf of the Excellencies, former head of states and governments, on behalf of the Excellencies ambassadors, and on behalf of the management of the World Youth Summit for Peace organization. I am assuring you, as the pandemic will allow, we will hold in-person summit. I will invite to the youth, I will invite to the elders, I will invite to the decision maker, and I will invite to the policy makers. I will invite the environmentalist, I will invite the climate change advocate, I will invite the educationists. I will invite the peace builders, peacemakers, and I will invite the agent of a culture of a peace. I will invite those who are struggling for the freedom of speech, for the respect of human dignity, for the empowerment of men and women, for the gender parity and equitable world for us, for all of us, for all generations, for all genders. I will invite all of you under the one platform, under the one umbrella, to make it this movement a youth movement as a world largest movement for the bringing a change in our societies, in our nations, and for the prosperity and development of our countries. Because pandemic teaches us how the economies can go down, how the world economic powers can melt down, how we are melting our all resources. It is a time to recover better, and recover better only by the youth, with the youth, and along with the youth. There is no other way that this world can survive without this prosperous future, and with this stigma that the youth are searching for the jobs, youth are searching for the universities admissions, youth are searching on the road and marching on the roads, and we are eating with the harmony into our house and in our offices. This is not a way. We have to make a commitment that our youth are not going to be unemployed. They are not going to be uneducated. They are not going to be suffering from the health facilities. They are not going to be ignored. This is the wide and worldly, loudly message for everyone that they are not alone at all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of you. God bless you. God bless the humanity, and God bless our younger generations.
Thank you, everyone. And before ending the session, I would like to invite, she is the Senior Vice Chairperson of International Human Rights Commission. She is Vice President for World Youth Summit for Peace Organization. She is a beautiful and role model for many youth, and she always gives encouragement for women like us, the most powerful woman of IHRC. Let's invite Her Excellency Ambassador Miss Asra Khan. Ma'am, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, ma'am. We can't hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roshni. And
Yes,
thank you for such a great compliment. Anyways, good evening, everyone. My dear youth fellows, happy International Day to all of you. Happy International Day of Youth to all of you. Sorry. Today we organized this summit virtually. In 2016, we organized this summit in person and in Pakistan. But due to this pandemic and COVID-19, we are unable to host the event, and we are unable to invite all of you. So we pray the next summit will be held in person, and we will share our experience with you. We will collaborate with you. We will give you chances to, we will give you we will give chances to everyone, all of you, to explain yourself. Once again, I'm thankful to all IHRC team, our chairman, our president of WISP, to join us in this event. I'm personally, on behalf of WISPO, and thank you to all the ambassadors, to all the youth leaders, and especially our partner organizations that you promote our event and you support us in this event. And I will give my wishes to the youth leaders, and very, very happy Youth Day, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining today. It was wonderful time to hear you all, and it was wonderful time. Dr. Khan, would you like to end this whole session? Anyone has any questions before we end? Any questions? I think no questions, sir.
Thank you very much. If the Excellency Maria Espinosa is listening and she wants to say concluding remarks. Excellency.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. I have really nothing to add because the conversation has been so enriching. I'm extremely touched by the vitality, the intelligence, the creativity, the commitment of all these young change makers. And I think the present and the future belongs to them. But I have to say that I'm also very much in favor for a true intergenerational dialogue and co-building. And we have to say that the future can only be better, and that we have the responsibility to join hands, to join our commitment and intelligence and our political will to build a fairer, a more inclusive and sustainable and more peaceful society. Thank you for this journey. I think I cannot think of a better way to pay tribute to young people around the world in this very special day. So thank you again. Thank you, Asra Khan, for being the little engine behind this. And I really hope to see you in person very soon.
Excellency, you are invited officially to visit Pakistan at the International Human Rights Commission and WYSP headquarters, and also our secretariat in New York. We will host you personally and officially, both ways. And I congratulate you, and I wish you to see you a People's Secretary General of the Organization of the American States, as you described. The People's Secretary General, not the bureaucratic Secretary General. It will bring the change when, like you, a women's and a leaders will sit on the highest place to be a people's leaders, not the bureaucratic and the diplomatic leaders. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to all of you, and God bless you. God bless our young generation. And I would say happy International Youth Day to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and namaste, everyone. Good night, and
Thank you
have
very
a good
much,
day.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.
Namaste, thank you.
Goodbye. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Daniel.